Do you give so much love to everybody else and you never really receive that same love in return? Or do you give so much love that you just don't have enough left over to nourish yourself? Or perhaps you lie to yourself and you say, I love myself, I love my life, but you don't truly honor that. You don't honor your body. You don't honor your emotions. You don't honor your boundaries. Or perhaps you've had your heart broken and you've been betrayed, you've been lied to, and you're carrying these invisible woundings. And although you're moving forward and pretending like everything's okay, you're closed off and you are afraid to make yourself vulnerable or to let somebody in, or you're afraid to love again. And we all really just want love, right? And so this hurts. And if any of this resonates, then this video is for you. But don't worry, there's plenty of things we can do. This is just a good sign that you might have an imbalance in your heart chakra. But don't worry, there are plenty of things we can do. And my name is Angela, and this is an introductory video to the heart chakra in my series, Feed Your Chakras. And so if you're new to the whole chakra system, you are welcome here. And if you are a little more seasoned or knowledgeable in this area, you're also invited to stay because something might resonate. You might still learn something or gain a new perspective. So I'm just gonna start with the basics. The heart chakra in Sanskrit is called Anāhata. Anāhata. This literally translates to unstruck or unhurt. And this is located in the center of the chest, and it is associated with our heart, our lungs, our thymus gland, our arms, our hands, upper back, and the circulatory and immune system. The frequency of this chakra is 639 hertz. And the seed sound or the mantra is yum, yum. I love this one, yum. And the mudra is where we take our pointer finger and our thumb. There's a few actually, but you can use this one, it's very easy. And you hold this at your heart, and this is where you can practice yum. So it's Y-A-M. But I particularly like it because I'm a chef and it sounds like yum, like yummy, yummy. So sometimes I make my dinner guests or whatever, I do that mantra. This chakra represents our capacity to love. Obviously, right? But that's not just, our love for another person. It's also our love for ourselves. And self-love is the most important. Not in an egotistical way, but because you are responsible for your own autonomy, your feelings, your human vessel. And sometimes we, through love, abandon ourselves because we want to receive that love, but then we are not being authentic, and that just throws everything out of alignment. So it's also governed by our ability to forgive, to transmute the lessons and not become bitter because of them, but become better. And that is the strength of this chakra, being unhurt, unstruck, despite what happens to you, to transmute that energy. And we do this through compassion. And, it's not to say that it's just or fair if people hurt or betray you. You are not responsible for what other people do to you. That is their karma. But your dharma is how you act, right? And your dharma can protect your karma. So if you're doing benevolent acts and you're acting from kindness and from pure intentions, you don't really have to worry about what other people do to you because you will be protected. But, a lot of people have a lot of trouble with forgiveness, right? Like, how do you forgive somebody that stabbed you in the back or broke your heart or cheated on you or whatever it is that they did to you, right? And it doesn't mean forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, right? You can forgive them for their hurt or whatever that they did to you, because they're only human. And you have to realize, this is where the compassion comes in. Hurt people hurt people. So people are always projecting, especially if they're unconscious, right? They're projecting their life lessons, their pain onto you. And maybe they're doing it intentionally, maybe they're doing it unintentionally, right? But there are a lot of different forgiveness exercises you can do. But when you forgive yourself, you can still remember what happened, but boundary up, right? That's where the self-love comes in. You know, you can forgive someone because the past is in the past. We're living in the present now, so we don't want to attach ourselves to what happened. But now in the present is where you can transmute it, not transmit it. It's where you can transmute it. So you can respectfully express your boundaries, right? And people are only going to have a problem with your boundaries if they benefit from you not having any. And so that's another boundary right there, right? But you can do that in a loving way. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't be like, oh, you did this in the past, but it's just like, no, you know, I understand why you would feel that way, but this is actually where I stand on this situation, or however it comes out. So there's always ways that we can transmute this and act from a self-love position in the present moment. And that is the strength of this heart chakra, to transmute. And the past 3 videos were on the lower chakras, which is the solar plexus, the sacral, and the muladhara, the root chakra, which is governed by the material plane, the earthly plane, and the material world, the 3D, the third dimension. Okay, so this is all 3D. And you know, we often hear about people talking about the 5D. But what about the 4D? Like, what is that? That's the 4th chakra. So in the 7, there's more than 7 chakras, but these are the major chakras that we often talk about because it just governs most of what we experience in our daily lives. But this is the middle chakra of the 7. So it's perfectly situated in between the higher chakras and the lower chakras, and the higher self and the lower self, and the higher realms and the lower realms, right? It's the portal. So this is where we transmute, we rise above the ego, which is the solar plexus, and we come into a place of love and compassion. And when we love unconditionally, which is the strength of this chakra, meaning, yeah, you can forgive people, you can have your boundaries, but you can understand that not everybody's perfect, and hurt people, and you know, they're obviously suffering if they have to hurt somebody that much, right? Like, that is where you come into this higher sense of self, where you can, like, not that we're looking down on people, but you can see things from a more clear perspective because you're not governed by this ego, everything's happening to me, right? You're understanding that we're all acting accordingly and based on our life lessons and what we've learned and our experiences, right? You don't know everybody else's stories. You don't know what they experienced or how they were hurt or traumatized and why they're, you know, projecting that onto you, right? That's not your life, and you probably won't unless they tell you, right? But you can have compassion for them and compassion for yourself, because you obviously don't deserve that mistreatment or disrespect. But you can only teach people how to respect you by the amount of respect and love that you have for yourself. So yeah, I think that's everything that if anything else comes to me, I'll let you know. But let's move on to signs of imbalance. And so there is an overactive and an underactive kind of state of balance. And you can also be completely blocked, which I was completely blocked to in my heart chakra, just because I experienced so much trauma when I was younger. But when it's overactive, it can look like jealousy or being really possessive of other people, and you know, who they're hanging out with, emotions. It could be codependency or the need for people pleasing because you want to be liked or loved or adored or whatever. So you're doing more and you're overgiving. And you're doing it without receiving in that state of reciprocation, which is what we need for balance, right? You can't just give and not receive. It has to be balancing. I mean, you can give without expectation, and that's obviously the best way to give. But you also do need to fill yourself up. So you need to be, if you're doing that, it needs to be something that's nourishing you because you love it, right? And that's another important point, okay? It's not just the love that we give to other people or we give to ourselves, it's the loving of what you do. So when you love what you do, you can give from a place of no expectations, because what you're doing is nourishing you. It's filling your heart up. You know, like my heart is full. That's because that is something that somebody loves to do, and it brings them so much joy to do this act or do this service or whatever it is that they are doing that brings them into this state of love. Okay, and let's move on back to a sign of imbalance. Is an underactive heart chakra is when you've experienced some sort of pain in your heart and it causes you to isolate. You become afraid of intimacy, afraid of becoming vulnerable. You close yourself off to other people, maybe even yourself, your own emotions, like you block yourself from feeling because you are afraid and it hurts so much. But you have to feel it to heal it. You can't just stay numb forever. And there's lots of other signs too. If you have difficulty trusting people because maybe you've been cheated on or lied to or betrayed, or in that you can't forgive somebody, you hold on to resentment, or you're craving external validation, everything's kind of beyond yourself. And you've built these like emotional walls, right? It's kind of like the love that you have is all superficial. It's not like a deep, real, authentic love. And there's also physical symptoms that you can get if you have a blocked or imbalanced heart chakra. You can have heart palpitations. You can have shortness of breath because it's associated with the lungs. You can even get lung ailments like pneumonia, asthma, bronchitis. You can get upper back pain, shoulder pain, stiffness in the back, behind the scapula, anything kind of surrounding this like lung area. And poor circulation is also an indication that you could, because our heart governs the circulatory system. But anyways, if you experience any of those, don't worry. There are lots of ways to nourish and to feed your heart chakra. So because it's associated with lungs, breath work is good for everything, but especially the heart chakra. And there's different levels of breath work. If you're brand new, you can just do one where it's like, inhale love, exhale pain. Or you can do deeper breath work where you're really getting into like expanding the lungs, filling it up with oxygen, life force. You can also do heart opening yoga poses because it is connected to the shoulders and the back. When we get hurt or we're feeling bad, it's very natural for people to like crouch over. It's like your subconscious physical body protecting the heart space, right? So like opening it up. And when you do a heart opening yoga pose, such as, camel pose, wheel pose is a really good one. It activates all 7 ones. It's a little intense. But I really like puppy pose. It's like a really good shoulder opener. You have your arms straight up and it really opens up the heart. And they are intense. I always tell my students, I teach yoga, I always tell my students, I really guide them through the breath through this because it is intense and we feel vulnerable, right? And people hate feeling vulnerable and it gives us anxiety and all these things pop up, but that is actually a very powerful process of working through that and sitting through that, because you don't even know what's going to pop up for you because we're storing trauma in our body. So that is why the physical release is so empowering. And then, of course, there's different foods you can eat. As I mentioned, the color of this chakra is green, and leafy greens are really good. Anything with chlorophyll. Well, green is chlorophyll, but like spirulina, broccoli. I always find it fascinating because there's specific foods that look like the organs that they're connected to, and broccoli looks like the lungs. I think that's kind of cool. Also, like, herbs and things are extremely high frequency, and especially sprouts. And this is where we get into our higher frequency. There's also aromatherapy, different scents you can have, like rose, jasmine, eucalyptus. There's different stones. As I mentioned, rose quartz, even though it's pink. That's actually more of like, it represents more of like the family love than like the romantic love. But yeah, there's like emerald, all sorts of different green stones. And sound healing is also very good. You can do things to 639 hertz. You can practice your mudra and chant yam, or you can listen to any sort of music. I actually have a heart frequency sound bowl there, which is what I use when I guide meditations, just to help people get out of this third dimension and open themselves up, especially if they've never meditated before. And instruments that are connected to this, piano music, anything that like you can pluck a string is actually a good resonator for this frequency. So you can be like a guitar, even a romantic guitar, or like a harp. And yeah, what was I gonna say? Is there anything else? Oh, okay. So one thing that I think is very symbolic and fascinating is, I first started learning about the chakras a long time ago, and then I also did Reiki as well. And you know, in the beginning you're supposed to practice, well, you should always practice Reiki on yourself, but you know, we have our chakras which kind of point out, and these are, like I mentioned, for giving, and this is for receiving energy. Well, the heart chakra is the one chakra that you cannot receive. Like, I'm flexible, but I can't get my palm, which is where you give this light energy, over the spot to receive. It's just physically impossible. I mean, maybe if you're a contortionist, and I'm very flexible, I'm not a contortionist, but it's not natural, right, for our physical bodies. And that's so symbolic, because this is the one chakra that we need to receive. We really need to receive love. Like, yeah, you can be single and, like, you know, not feel alone because you're in like divine union with God and your purpose, right? But you can still receive love from other people. And if you're hugging somebody in your heart to heart, when your hands come back, you're touching that spot, which I think is beautiful and just like metaphorically perfect, you know? So just some little reflections. I had an extremely blocked heart chakra growing up. You know, your parents are supposed to be like your first loves, and I always felt like abandoned and unseen and rejected. And my mother was actually like the biggest source of my pain. And she passed away, and after she passed away, like, my life dramatically changed. I actually moved back to Canada. I wasn't even living in the country, and I came back and I was with her when she passed over, and that was very traumatizing. And so when I started my life back here, where I am currently based, I started a whole new career, a whole new life, and I was into holistic healing. And I was actually working in this co-working space called Women on the Move. And the founder messaged me and invited me to this goddess ceremony because she thought I really resonated with it. And it was a medicine woman, like an indigenous woman, and she was holding it. And it was my first time going to anything like this. And during that time, like, I had actually just moved back to the country, as I mentioned, but I had received all these downloads of things that I was supposed to do, like my life purpose. And I wanted to create this consciousness camps. And so I didn't know where to begin, but I went and got like CPR training because I thought I might need that to be like a guide or whatever. And so I just finished the training on, like, you know, signs of having a heart attack and like what to do. And so anyways, I'm sitting there minding my own business at this goddess activating ceremony. And she was like smudging, and she had drums, and she was doing all of these things. And suddenly I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. It was so much pressure, so much strain and compression on my heart. I was like freaking out, and I was like, okay, like, seriously, I think I'm having a heart attack. And I didn't want to interrupt the ceremony, but I was like, what if I die? Like, I was actually, like, so many things were going through my head because it was so intense. It was such an intense energy. And I was like, okay, God wouldn't do this to me now. Like, I honestly believed that like I was supposed to be there for this activation. And I was just like, oh my God, like what if I die? And then like suddenly it like popped. And then the pressure stopped. And I was like, what is going on? And so I told somebody the next day, and they actually mentioned it to me. They're like, that was probably your heart chakra activating or opening. And it was painful because I was so closed off that it actually hurt to open it up. And it's funny because after that first activation, a whole number of synchronicities happened, and that was like me and the start of my journey of like self-healing. But yeah, it actually hurt, and I had no idea. Like I didn't really know about the chakras. I didn't know about any of this stuff. I didn't realize how blocked I was or afraid of love that I was experiencing. Like now I look back and I was like, wow, I've come so far. And also recently, that was my mother passed away, and just a few weeks ago, my father also passed. And I've been very busy, and I am grateful because I knew that he was sick, and I spent a lot of time with him in this past year, and I helped him, and I did whatever I could. But it's still very upsetting to see somebody you love, right, pass away. And after his passing, like I just continued my work, and I don't see death as the end, especially because after I healed my relationship with my mother, she became my guide, which I would never have believed ever in my life until it actually happened. So with my father, it's kind of like I don't feel like he's necessarily gone. He's just gone in the physical form. At least that's what I tell myself. But then last week, I was fine. I never get back pain because I'm very active and I move and I know how to like open myself up. But I woke up one day and I couldn't even, my whole left side of my body on my back side was so inflamed. Like it was painful. Like I was stiff, right? I was like massaged for a week, right? I was massaging myself on like corners. I would get massages. My friends massaged me. And it was everywhere. It was behind my scapula. It was really deep and big. And so my friends were massaging me, and there was like nothing I could do. And I was like, wow, like this is actually where we also store grief in our body. And so it's like I was moving through things, but I wasn't really feeling things, I guess, right? At least yeah. But anyways, I did work through it, and I kind of made myself open up again. I did specific movements and stuff, and I felt it opening, and now it's actually a lot better. Like I still wake up and it's a little stiff, but then I get flowing. But it is really just symbolic of how we take whatever happens to us and we subconsciously store this trauma in our body, and it's really, really powerful and empowering to release, right? And we can release in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, and here's a whole bunch for you. So I hope that this resonated, and if it did, please give this video a like and feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.